Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry. Max and Edward are here. I don't even have a really clever name for this segment. We're talking about our players that are out on loan. Okay? The ones, we have a lot of them. Some of them are U23s. Some of them are players that were first team members at the beginning of the season. So what we want to do is kind of really quickly say who the player is, say where they are, say how they're doing, and then give a percentage of their chances to be on first team next season. Okay? So,
it wouldn't be as long as Chelsea's.
Yo, that's true. Because they have so many players. So many. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's a pretty solid system of theirs they got going. You know?
It is. So, buy every young player from everywhere and then just sell them on for loads of money.
Or just put them on loan for a long time and maybe they'll never, ever play for Chelsea. Ever.
Yeah. And then regret selling one sooner or later. Maybe once, twice. No, maybe 3 times when they come back to the Premier League and become really successful.
That happens a few times with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting enough.
But it's immense numbers they're dealing with. So, whatevs. So we're going to start with one that's been in the news recently that people have been complimenting a lot. And I think all of us thought this loan was necessary. Mo Besic to Middlesbrough. I think all of us wanted him to get some time. We knew that if he went to Middlesbrough, he would get to play. Pulis is coaching, the managing, and people are basically saying he might hold the key to their season right now. Great. That is amazing. He's getting
More
minutes.
money.
He's getting minutes, and he's important to the team. That's wonderful. All right. However, there's 2 ways of looking at this. Number 1, he's getting experience, and he comes back to us, and he gets to play. Or 2, he gets minutes, he comes back, and then we sell him, like Edward said, for more money than we would have initially. Okay. I think Mo Besic, depending on the manager, has maybe a 30% chance of playing with our first team next season. Is he like 25?
25.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't mind seeing him back, but who he's going to go over?
Yeah. That's the problem.
I'm going to go out on a limb here because I feel like if we stick with this 3 in the middle system that we've got and how that kind of covers the defence, yet you know, the way they all kind of work in rotation and you know, one goes, one stays, etc. I feel like he'd thrive in that system. And he seems to be sort of a jack of all trades, particularly for Middlesbrough now. We're kind of seeing that, you know, the kind of I love the way I'm sure I've seen a few interviews where he refers to the roles that he plays as the numbers. He says, I can be an 8, I can be a 6, I can be a 4. You know, and I genuinely do believe he has, you know, those potential roles in him, and I think you've got to be a very gifted player to pull off this three in the middle system successfully. So I feel like if he continues with these good performances for Middlesbrough, then it wouldn't surprise me if he got into the midfield ahead of Rooney when Rooney needs a rest.
Yeah. I think my final point on him will be, wasn't he in that sort of system as well when we beat Sunderland like 3-0 or something? He was in that sort of role that Gay is in, and then when he could sort of rotate it with, I think it was Davies he was in for as well. He was a little bit rusty, but he actually was really good in that. I remember he was very good.
See, I always chalk him up to being a player like Gay, somebody who's supposed to be everywhere, disrupting play, receive, ping the ball outside, you know, keep the ball ticking over. He just tends to hold on to it a lot longer. And I think he's not as mobile as Gay or as mobile as Boningimi, because you know what I mean. However, his versatility is helpful. I just don't know if he's
put in a damn tackle.
Is he gonna be fine starting the season on the bench, which is where he really should start, considering who we have. That's one of the reasons why I'm not. I don't know. I love him. I think he's awesome. I want him on the first team. I worry that his time with getting consistent minutes with us is still far away, if it's even going to happen. So that's why I said 30%. Max, what would you say percentage-wise? You say more like 50?
Yeah, I'd say 55, 60.
Wow, that's high. Cool. Edward, you?
Probably 50-50. I'll go 50.
All right. I'm a negative jerk. All right, so next.
We have to deal with this guy.
Yeah, I know. I have to look at me in the mirror all the time, Edward. All right, it sucks. Ademola Lookman is with Red Bull Leipzig, as everybody knows. This is not news. He's not getting a lot of minutes. His first game he came in, scored a goal, scored the winner. But he's not getting. I mean, like I watched him this past weekend, and he didn't come in at all. So I think Leipzig was playing Dortmund. Cool game. You know, fun teams to watch, but no Lookman.
I love Dortmund.
So so he's not getting a lot of time, but he seems to be decently happy, and he's doing okay. I think he has a big chance of coming back to the first team next season. I think we're going to have a manager who wants people like him around. And so I'm thinking 95%. He's somewhere, either on the bench, somewhere in the first team. What do you guys think?
I think if he's willing and wanting to come back to Everton, then by all means, I feel like he's definitely going to be a name that's definitely either starting 11 or on the bench. But again, it's this kind of toxic atmosphere and environment that the club seems to just manifest at the moment. And obviously, you know, he kind of forced that loan move himself. So it's just kind of a question for me if he's willing to come back, depending on who we appoint. But I do like the system that we've got going on at the minute, because, you know, it finally seemed like we tweaked it and we found something viable where players can work well. But definitely, I think in the long run, he could be someone that we play out wide. So I'd say about 75%, 80%.
80?
I will go with the high 90s just because he is a key player. He's still young. And I do think he would come back. Although that's saying he will come back to England. Whether he'll come back to Everton is another thing, because it's famous that gets very homesick. So I think him being in a foreign country probably last him the season. But I think he will come back to England. Whether it be to Everton will be another thing. But if he comes back, then he will have a very, very high chance of coming in, because he's what we need. And I personally thought on Burnley we were missing exactly what he is for that sort of wing role. He's better than Calvert-Lewin when Calvert-Lewin is more in the centre.
All right, so here's an easy one. Kevin Morales with Olympiacos. He's not actually doing that great, oddly enough, as much as they love him. I think he's definitely going to
they're not loving him at the minute, though, are they?
No, doesn't seem like it.
Well, there's sulky attitudes, apparently.
And apparently he's been disappearing during games as well. I think he's definitely going to be sold. I'm going to say 1% chance he comes back and stays.
Tiny. I think he's part of that, the kind of old guard now. We're kind of in this transitional phase with the squad, and I feel like he's unfortunately just one of those that's going to be left behind. He didn't perform at a consistent enough level for us during his time at Everton, and to me it always feels like he played at his best when we had a game on telly, you know, when he could showcase his skills. But no, I definitely don't feel like he's going to come back into the squad. I think he's going to stay where he is.
It's sad because I did respect him as a player. I thought he was a very, very good player, but he's just not. He's not going to cut it. We've got so many people that are probably ahead of him, and he is, how old is he now? 31, something like that now. So I don't see him getting back into the team. I'll say, just for the hell of it, 10%, something like that. No. Give him a bit of a chance, just because of the talent he has on his day. But on his day, it doesn't come a lot, which is a shame because I did like him.
So next, Sandro Ramirez with Sevilla. He's been getting a little bit of playing time, but he's been pretty invisible over there as well. I think there is a slight chance that he comes back if we have a different manager. I think it's a slight chance. It's not a high percentage. I think he's got about a 15% chance of. It's a low chance of him wanting to come back. But I also think the grasses are not going to be as green on the other side as he thinks. You know, so I'm saying 15% chance that he comes back and stays.
I'd echo that really. I think with Tosin coming in and the form of Walcott, I
And
just
yes,
feel like he's going to get
and Calvert-Lewin.
forward
He's
line.
not going to get ahead of them.
Next, Kieran Dowell with Forest.
80.
Yeah. Well, he started out so strong for them. You know, just having some amazing goals, amazing play. But lately, he's not getting as many minutes, and he's been finding himself on the bench more often. If you had asked me at the beginning of the season, after he'd play, I would have said 90% he's back with the first team next season. But right now, since he's kind of regressed a little bit, I'm lowering my percentage. All right, I'm going to say more like 65%. All right, I would like him here, but I think there are he's like Sigurdsson Jr. in what he provides. You know.
Yeah. I think he's definitely a name that's going to be on the bench. I think so yes, I do feel like he's going to be involved with the first team squad. I just feel like it's going to be his kind of his break-in season where he kind of.
I hope so. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I feel like he's a young lad, local lad, so that the crowd will always want to see him do well, and I feel like he's going to be blooded in next season.
Yeah, he's got quality about him. There's no doubt. He's still young though. Everyone forgets all these players coming in. They're still young. They're only like in the early 20s, if that. So if he comes in and, I mean, if he gets his head down for Norwich and Nottingham, he'll do, and he does well. Then I say raise it up. But I'll stick with 80 because if he wants to stay for a little bit longer, that's fine. But if he comes into the team, he will be involved.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say I want him in the first team. I just feel like it was more of a home run definite earlier in the season. Now that he's regressed a little bit, it's just sort of, I don't know.
Back to reality.
Yeah. I love the guy as a player, though. I loved watching him in the World Cup this past summer. He's just a fun player to watch. Smart, and he's not afraid to shoot beyond the 18. And I feel like there's so many players that are scared to do that.
Garner isn't, in all fairness.
So next, Tyus Browning, Sunderland. He's been doing all right with Sunderland. He's been starting. He's been playing. However, recent news.
They have been poor.
Yeah, they've been poor. He's been a little bit of a bright spot, sort of. But he's now with a groin injury. He will be out the rest of the season. So I'm going to say he's got maybe, because he plays at a position, a center back, where we're not particularly strong, I'm going to say a 30% chance possibility of him coming back and making it with the first team. You know?
I'd agree with that. I feel like, because again, you've got to take into consideration, granted we're not the best in that position, but we've got quite a few numbers at defensive cover. So I feel like, he'd be involved with the under-23s more than the first team. But quality-wise, I don't see why we shouldn't give him a go.
Yeah, I think he's got that experience as well. He's got more experience than a lot of the under-23s players anyway, hasn't he? So I'd agree. I think it's only really sort of the same. I'd go a bit higher if he didn't have the injury, because that's going to halt his season.
Injuries have been
obviously completely.
Injuries have been an issue with him for a long time, though.
Yeah.
I liked him when he played first team under Martinez. I thought he's a good young player. I would have bet money that he would have been, moved over to center back shortly afterward. But he's just had injuries. It's been a big thing for him. So he's a bit of a risk if you put him on the first team. So, after this, another Sunderland loan to follow that up. Brendan Galloway. So far, it's been sort of a bad loan for him. He got some time early on, and then it just sort of, it didn't really get a whole lot after that. However, with the injuries that Sunderland have had at center back, there's a possibility that Galloway might be brought back into the fold this weekend. Okay? So he actually might get some center back minutes, which I think is what a lot of people think is his best position anyway. He's rail thin, though. He's very thin. He actually volunteered at Sunderland to play with U23s to get to be playing at all. he's been training hard, is what Coleman said over at Sunderland. That's good. I don't think there's much of a chance of him getting into the first team. I'm putting a 3% chance because he's been so poor. I think there's something going on with him mentally.
I agree with what you said in that I feel like centre-back's his best position. But given our fragility at left-back and our complete inadequacy at seeming, it just unable for us to get one in. It wouldn't surprise me if Baines' injuries start flaring up again in the next season, then he might get some minutes at left-back. So I'd probably go with a higher percentage of 3, more towards 10, 15. But
I'd say that, yeah. I think as well, you think about it with the injuries, we have got Garbett, who everyone seems to keep forgetting about. We haven't given him a chance this season, so maybe it will be time to, but he's not had a great... I believe as well, the previous loan spell, he didn't have a great one with either, was it? I can't remember who it was with exactly, but yeah, it wasn't great. So that'll lower his confidence. So I'll just stick with 10, just because.
So to counter you guys' reason for possibly having him in the first team squad is him playing at left back, I give you Anthony Robinson
at Bolton,
who starts often for them, and they're he's. I've heard some people have said he's a little bit weak at the position, and other people have said he's been a rock. So it's hard. Yeah. I don't watch them enough to have an opinion. I just know when he's starting regularly.
Yeah, I've watched Bolton a few times, and he seemed like the fullback of yesteryear for Everton almost. The way he kind of gets up and down, and doesn't seem to be pinned to that defensive position. But when called upon for defensive duty, he is rather solid. So I still do think he'll be inclined to play more under 23s football, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him progress through the ranks.
One of my friends who's a Bolton fan, he rates him very highly. He speaks of him, says very, very good. So based on his, I'd say probably the same as Galloway, maybe 10%, 15%, just because he hasn't got any experience in first team, so he'll be probably the under 23s a bit longer, maybe on loan a bit longer as well.
My percentage is much higher. I said 40% because he plays left back.
Hell, man.
Because he plays left back. It's the only reason. And because he's been starting all season, hasn't had a lot of injury issues. So, yeah.
Yet.
I wonder, and I'm being serious, I wonder if they would have possibly, if he had stayed U23s, if he would be training with the first team rather than Garbett at this point. Seriously, because I'm wondering who they hold in higher esteem right now, and I'm not actually sure. But I think with Garbett's supposed change of attitude, maybe it would be Garbett now. I know Unsworth values Garbett a lot more now than he did, apparently. So, yeah. Matthew Pennington at Leeds, he was starting well with them. He was getting a lot of minutes, and he got injured, and I don't think he's getting as many minutes now. Because I think that some people at Everton really do value him and think that he's a good player. I think they maybe value him about the same amount as Browning. So I'm going to say the same percentage as Browning, 30%. With him being, again, it's a position of need.
He kind of he seems to be one of those players again that he kind of fluctuates between full-back and centre-back, and we can't quite pinpoint him as having an out position. I know he's meant to be rated very highly for the under 23s and around the training ground, but again, I just feel like there's too many numbers in that position, and I feel like if he was going to make an impact at Everton, he would have made it by now.
Yeah, it's same here. I do think he's a good player, but he's a good player for the Championship.
Might be.
He's not as good for he's not that level that we need. And he's about, what is he now, 23, 22, something like that at least. So he's the oldest, I think, out of all of the centre-backs that we've got really on loan. And like Max said, if he had an impact, he would have made it. He would have stayed in, not gone out on loan. And when Everton won the Premier League title, kids division, last season, he actually cost us one of the goals. I remember he misplaced a pass to one of the Liverpool players, and it was really shocking defending from him. So I'll stick the same. But I think it'll be a choice of either Browning or Pennington. It won't be both.
Okay. Onyekuru. He's been on loan at Anderlecht. Had a pretty bad injury. Anderlecht thinks he needs surgery. Everton thinks he doesn't. Onyekuru wants to play for Nigeria in the World Cup. Apparently, during the season when he was playing, he was getting goals, but the manager was not very impressed with him. Work permit issues. Apparently, he just hasn't. He doesn't have all the qualifications to get a work permit. I'm going to say 80%. I think talent-wise, he would be in the first team, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
But I think there's a percentage you have to knock him back because we don't know if he plays World Cup, then he'll be with us next season.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just that work permit obstacle, isn't it? Really. Yeah. Again, I'm not in the know particularly with the state of it, but
me
neither. He's a very talented player for his age, and I feel like he would be of use to the first team.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with the same. I'll probably say about 75. Just work permit being an issue, injury being an issue, I think. Plus, as well, I'm going to throw in a bit one. Who would he come in to replace at the minute? Because Walcott's doing really well. You've got Tosin, Nias, Calvert-Lewin. If Sandro was to come back, he wouldn't be able to come into the striker role then. Luckman comes back in. Sigurdsson looks to be doing really well there. So he's got a few players, in the pecking list above him. So he will be involved, but whether he'll get as many first-team minutes as he does for Anderlecht will be another issue. So I think 75.
I think he would get so many more minutes than a Balassi or, you know what I mean?
Balassi.
He would be. He's an electric player. I'm not completely sold on his attitude because I've heard some weird stuff about him.
Right.
So Harry Charsley at Bolton, not getting many minutes at all. I'm gonna say 8%.
No comment really on him. I don't know much.
All I know is he looked solid when we played at Apollon. So
he played well, but I feel like it just back to the under-23s for him, I think.
Yeah, and he was playing out of position in that game too. So, interesting one that's been in the news recently, Colm Connolly at Ipswich. It's been a pretty good loan for him. He's gotten good minutes.
1%, I'd say.
Not playing the outside back as much as he's been playing a lot of center defensive mid, and I think people have liked him. I know in the beginning he was looking really good for them. And he recently came out and did an interview saying he's really happy there. He's had a good time. And he hasn't had that much support from Everton as much as he would like, which I found interesting. So I'm going to say 25% that he comes back to play with the first team. I think he could have been useful this season a lot, but I'm wondering if his relationship with Everton has been strained by the lack of support. So
I'd say 5. I'd say 5 just because, like you said, he's got barely any connections now, and he looks to be enjoying his football there, and he has said, hasn't he, that it's a possibility he'll stay there beyond this season. So I think 5, really.
All right. You good, Max?
Yeah.
All right. Joe Williams at Barnsley. That loan appears to be going very well. He's had some accolades this season, actually. There's one particular goal earlier in the season that was wonderful.
Screamer.
Yeah, it's so good. The only thing that I think holds Joe Williams back is not really a position of need. So I'm going to say 30%, despite the fact that I think he is a young player with potential. But we get rid of those all the time. So, I'd love for him to be a part of it. I just wonder if it's too clogged.
I'd say probably 10%, just because of the positions he's got. I think he should stay out a bit longer at Barnsley, just because he's doing so well there and getting plenty of experience. So.
Yeah, I think that just tends to be a common theme within the Premier League. To be honest, younger English players 5 minutes and play well in the lower league side. Well, it's not against the foreign players because it is what it is, but it just seems to be the way the league has gone, and it makes it harder for the younger English players.
So these last three are not getting many minutes where they are. Probably don't need to give a big comment here. Lewis Gray at Carlisle United, not getting many minutes. I'm going to say 1% possibility that he comes back to play with the first team. Boris Mathis at Northampton, not getting many minutes. I'd say 2% chance he comes back and plays with the first team. A little bit higher, but not much. I'm just being so arbitrary with these percentages. And then last...
You going 3% on the last one?
No. I'm going back to 1% for Sam Byrne at Dundalk. He's played 9 minutes. He's not getting much time in Ireland. So that's every single player we have out on loan. Everyone. I can't find any others. So that was a bit... We just talked too friggin' much. We have too many opinions. You guys stop thinking things, please? I mean, good gosh.
Freedom of speech and all that, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't believe in that here in America. So I guess that's it for our Players Out on Loan segment. If you like our videos, please subscribe. We are slowly edging our way towards 600. And, yeah, we thank you very much for that. Leave a like, leave a comment. That would just be nice. Listen, what players do you think may make an impact next season that we've got out on loan right now? Check out Max's articles on the Toffee Blues website. Check out Edward's YouTube channel, Jam E. James. Details are below somewhere. Yeah, and I guess that's all we have for you right now. We got one more video to do. That's all. Bye.
Yeah.